All right, hello you guys. As you can see, I'm back with another video. Hair is up in this video because it's just one of those days. I'm feeling kind of lazy, but I am back with part two of the video that I made a couple of days ago when I was talking about BPD behaviors that don't make any sense. And I know I mentioned a couple of things in that video, and I'm only going to mention a couple of things for this video. I know there are a ton of things that don't make sense, and if I'm being honest, the whole illness as a whole doesn't make any sense. But this pertains to me, and it also pertained to me in the last video. I'm sure there were some of you that like watched it and you're like, oh yeah, I experienced that too. So I'm not necessarily saying that it pertains to you, but this is just things that I went through because, again, I'm going to title this My Experience, and the other one I titled My Experience. So I'm just going to go based off of that. And yeah, as always, if you have anything to say, feel free to comment. If you experience this as well, again, just comment what you experienced, what you went through. Because, even though it might not be the same thing, I mean, it could be similar, but even though it isn't, I'm sure there's, some similarities between things. But anyway, so, in the beginning, I know everyone can relate to this. People with BPD, they put you on this pedestal, right? They treat you like you are literally the most perfect person ever, like you are the love of their life. And because they treat you that way, you feel amazing and you feel the same about them. And it feels like this, like fairy tale Disney sort of thing. And you're like, this is so good and nothing could top this. It's too good to be true because it is. But anyway, so they'll basically tell you that you're perfect in the beginning. My ex definitely did. My ex would always text me and be like, "You're so perfect." And I remember one time we were just this was like in the beginning when we were trying to like get to know each other. We'd ask like those questions about each other, like what's your favorite color, like favorite candy, what are you like most scared of, just like questions like that. And I remember one question that I asked was, if you could change anything about me, what would you change? And I remember my ex was like, I wouldn't change a thing. You're perfect. I love everything about you. Okay, so that was then, right? That was the really good months, the honeymoon stage, right? Okay, so fast forward a couple of months, maybe 6 months to a year, and then that could not be farther from the truth, right? Um, I feel like if I were to ask my ex that question now, I'm sure there would be like a laundry list of things that my ex doesn't like about me. And again, I remember like a couple of months, well, again, 6 months to a year after we like finalized things, my ex would get like super like pissed off at me for like really little things, right? So, like I don't know, I would just be like chewing food or chewing gum or something, and like I don't like chew obnoxiously. Like I don't like those people who are like nasty with their food and like they chew with their mouth open. Like I wasn't doing that, but like I remember I was just chewing on something and like yeah, it made noise. It was probably like a chip or something like that. And my ex could hear it. And my ex got like super pissed at me and was like, I hate the way you chew and stop all that crap and whatever. And it's like, dude, like I'm literally just chewing, you know what I mean? Like little stupid things like that. And like I typically don't wear jeans. And I remember one time like I like bought like newer jeans. They were kind of like baggier, not necessarily my style because I prefer more like skinny jeans and stuff like that. So a little bit baggier, but I was hanging out with my ex, obviously before they were my ex, and my ex was like, "I hate you in jeans." And it's like, why would you say that to someone? You know what I mean? And like I don't know, just like little things like that. Or there was also like a time where in the beginning, like if I had a question or even like further along in the relationship, because I knew even then that I was like walking on eggshells and I was like, well, if I say this, then this is going to happen. Or if I do this, this is going to happen, whatever. Um, But anyway, I if I had a question, I'd like before I'd ask it, I'd be like, I have a question. Or like if we were texting, I'd be like, question, dot, dot, dot. Um, and I know, that can make people nervous and whatever, but like I just wanted to make sure I was allowed to ask a question before asking it. Like personally, I think that's like respectful, I guess, especially like in that situation where like, if someone has BPD, maybe they're in the mood, maybe they're not in the mood. And I'm pretty sure I would do this even before I knew my ex had BPD, just because, again, I feel like I was walking on eggshells with certain things. And I just wanted to make sure it was okay to proceed with the question. So that's why I was like, hey, I have a question or whatever, because I wanted to make sure it was okay. So, my ex was fine with it in the beginning, but then as the relationship progressed, and I would say more towards the end of the relationship, I would do that, and my ex would be like, "Can you just stop it? Like, ask the question. I hate when you do that," and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, like, it's not that big of a deal. I think I'm just being respectful, but maybe you don't think so, whatever. So it was like things like that, you know what I mean? Um, or whatever. Or kind of going off on like other things, but like again, like their back and forth behavior, this leads me like into the next thing. Um, that push and pull dynamic. Like I remember my ex would love when I was like clingy, right? Like my ex was clingy towards me and I was clingy towards my ex. Like I think it was just like this obsession thing that we had with each other because we really liked each other. So anyway, I was clingy, and then I don't know, like, I guess we got into, like, an argument or something, like, a little fight, typically over nothing, because that's usually what it was about, over nothing. Um, but anyway, uh, my ex was like, "You need to give me, like, some space," and so I was like, "Okay, like, I can check in on you in a couple of hours, whatever," and, so I did, like, a couple hours went by, and I was like, "You good? Just checking in on you, whatever." This was towards the end, by the way, when, things were I don't know, when the breakups became more frequent and less communication, whatever. But yeah, so I would check in, and it'd be weird because we'd maybe talk later that night and my ex is like, "You should have checked in on me more," and blah blah blah. And it's like I don't know, it was weird because like one moment they're like, "Oh, I love when you're clingy. We need to text all the time, whatever." And then when they tell you to back off and you do, it's like they get pissed at you that you do that, you know? So it was so hard to please this person because they literally would contradict themselves from one moment to the next, right? So you just didn't really know what to do because like nothing made sense, and that's the problem. Like the whole thing didn't make sense. Like you told me to do this and now you're pissed at me that I did it or whatever. And I think I've told you guys this before, but my ex was always like, "Oh, I'm big on communication." And so like in the beginning I didn't really communicate. Like it's hard for me to let my guard down with someone. I need to like get to know them first and whatever. So when we were in this relationship, I was thinking like after my ex said that, and I was like, yeah, I need to communicate more. I need to do this, I need to do that. So then I finally started communicating, and then my ex didn't like that either. You know what I mean? Like I communicated a weakness and my ex held that against me. And whenever we got into a fight, it was always, "Well, remember when you did this?" And it's like, I shouldn't have ever told you that. You know what I mean? Because now you're just using that against me. And if we get into a fight and it's your fault, then you're going to fall back on that and blame me for whatever. So, yeah, that was annoying. But also, like, and I said this before with regard to the whole communication thing. Um, Like, I would communicate if I was hanging out with a friend or family, and my ex didn't like it because I wasn't showing my ex attention, right? And then one time, like, I knew my ex was gonna get mad that I was going somewhere to hang out with my family because my ex would just get mad whenever I would do something, right? And my ex would be like, "You always do stuff and you're never home," and blah, blah, blah. Even though, like, I hardly did things, maybe couple times a month. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. It's not like I was going out every day, every weekend, whatever. And then there came a time where I didn't say something because I knew how my ex would react. And then I didn't say something and then my ex flipped. Like, so either way, like, it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, so that was really difficult. Um, oh, and then another thing, like, I remember in the beginning, and maybe it's because we were in the honeymoon stage, the talking stage, whatever. Maybe it is that idealization stage where they, just kind of mold into your character. But, we're asking these questions, we're talking. I'm like, do you want kids? And my ex was like, yeah. And I was like, sick. And like, you just start like talking about those things. And you think you're on the same page. And then all of a sudden, um, again, this was towards the end of our relationship. I was like, I don't know, I mentioned something about our kids in the future. And then my ex was like, well, I don't want kids anymore. And it's like, what? I was like, why? And I thought you did. That's what you told me. And it's like, no, I wouldn't be good with kids and I'd be a bad parent. And I just don't want any. And it's like, why did you say you did though? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, stop pretending to be someone in the beginning that you're clearly not. You know what I mean? Because I think also too, like, you presented, I'm talking about my ex, by the way, you presented this one side to me that I absolutely loved and adored and fell in love with, right? But then that person isn't who you actually are. So why did you present that to me? You know what I mean? And it's like, had you not presented that side to me, like, I probably wouldn't have been in this relationship with you. And you ultimately broke it off with me and cheated on me anyway. So why did you use me? So that just like doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And that leads me into like basically my next and my final point is the fact that my ex, and it sounds like BPD people as a whole, and I mean this could go with literally anyone, but I feel like especially those with BPD, the fact that they rely on their feelings rather than logic. Um, like, I remember if we would get into like an argument or something, and like I would try to explain my side using logic, right? Because like feelings, I mean, those come and go, and you can't base things on feelings because just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean it's truth. You know what I mean? So, like, if I was accused of something, I'd be like, well, explain this then, explain this, explain that. And it seems like whenever we would get into it, kind of, my ex would be like, well, you make me feel this, or I feel this, or this, that. It always came down to the feelings of the ex, right? And I remember one time or a couple of times where, uh, like, I just said something. I feel like I presented my argument pretty well, again, using logic, and my ex just didn't have a response to it. And it's like, yeah, because I'm right type of thing, you know? So, I don't know, it's hard when someone can't see that side, and it's the truth, you present them with the truth, but it's like they still refuse to see that because they're so dependent on the way they feel, even though their feelings clearly change from one day to another, from 1 hour to another. So, it's just wild, But, yeah, I don't know. That's all I have, you guys. I know there are plenty more of things I could have thrown in here, but those are just some things that came to my mind, some things on my list. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I might make another video about this in the future, maybe a part three. Um, we'll just see what happens. Just kind of doing whatever comes into my mind. But yeah, guys, once again, if you have anything to add, anything to say, feel free to comment down below. I love to hear what you guys say about all of this, just because hearing you guys, hearing your experiences, it helps me, right? And we're just trying to help each other. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So yeah, peace out.